This may upset some people and lead to this channel's first ever thumbs down, but please know that I'm not here to be divisive, to offend, or be a traitor to my people. Please listen to my thoughts on the subject in full. This may cost me political allies, but I need to follow truth wherever it takes me. My people have valued the pursuit of truth for millennia, and I am determined to continue that quest to the best of my abilities. To this end, I declare myself sovereign and independent from any individual or group, white nationalist or otherwise. I can't afford to relinquish my independent mind in order to fit into an already prescribed concept of ethnicity and race. I cannot in good conscience erase my people's history and way of life in favor of a concept of ethnicity and race that has been manufactured overseas by people who I share very little in common with outside of what is, in truth, a small genetic similarity in that we are both indigenous to the same continent and only in rare cases from the same country. Living elsewhere on the planet for hundreds of years sometimes informs a different racial experience to people living at home. These people are informing the racial narrative now of English-speaking Europe. Given their numbers dwarfing the numbers of racially conscious Europeans online, they are enforcing a standard view of race. And I'll dare to say, as Americans, they are also quite pig-headed about it. As an independent person, I feel stuck between two polarized forces. On the literal left, we have the status quo, multicultural, and conservatism. And on the literal right, we have the race realists and white nationalists. What these two polarized worldviews have in common is a prepackaged and simplified answer to questions around ethnicity and race. The establishment is telling us that there is no such thing and that the world would be a much better place after both the concept and reality of race is destroyed. The white reactionaries are telling us that Africans are inferior and relations with other races is an act of treachery. What has become increasingly clear to me is the prohibition against wrongthink from both polarized groups. This is intellectual tyranny and can only ever lead to actual tyranny, like we're seeing with the establishment today, where even ordinary people on Facebook are having their homes raided for posting content that's cynical of the unlimited immigration which is displacing their people. We would be fools to think,
our guys would never be so draconian, only commies do that.
It is an affront to reasoning and is wishful thinking. And on the other hand, those who have no problem with the idea of a jackboot slamming down on the heads of anyone who defies government policy around race are damn fools and no brothers of mine. If we're to be proud of being European, then let it be for an actual reason. Our strength originates from our individualism tempered by an allegiance to our own people, as well as our intelligence. We have evolved past the need for dictators to control our very beliefs and thoughts. In our world of ever-consolidating international and transnational powers, our people have been fighting in a parallel battle for our right to be individuals. That is the narrative of history, European history. If to be white means that I must ignore the history of our planet in exchange for the simplistic and unscientific belief that Africans are inherently less intelligent and that Asians are inherently superior and Aboriginal people are fauna, then I want nothing to do with it. If to be white means that nobody of another race can come to my country for good cause out of love for Ireland and her people, then I want nothing to do with it. If to be white means that I should be any more comfortable importing 200,000 white Americans, French or Polish, as opposed to 200,000 non-Europeans, ignoring the fact that this will have no less of a devastating effect, then I want nothing to do with it. And besides, miscegenation would be more rapid as Europeans are more attractive to other Europeans, much more attractive than non-Europeans are to the same, so it's arguably worse. If being white means that I cannot associate with, work with, and grow to love others of another race, and if being white means that I cannot take a wife whom I met abroad or while she was visiting Ireland, then I want nothing to do with it. If being white means trading in my people's history and pretending the horrors of the past weren't inflicted upon my people in the same manner they were inflicted on other indigenous people, then I want nothing to do with it. The Irish, I must remind you, saved all your asses. Not only were we construction and meat processing fodder for the American Empire, but our ancestors safeguarded the treasures of European culture, kept it safe from the advances of the Roman Empire northward through Europe. They could conquer Britain, but not Ireland and Scotland. Being naturally protected by a boundary of water, we provided safe harbor for more and more saints and scholars as ages passed. This is why they call Ireland the land of saints and scholars. Upon the collapse of Rome, people spread throughout Europe to help revive it. We're not just a tiny island. We're a library of the world. The land itself is an encyclopedia. Scholars and scientists still argue over whether Irish Gaelic or Sanskrit is the oldest coherent language. What shapes our conception of whiteness today is born of Christianity, the British Empire, and its offspring, the United States of America. It sets the tone and context of what it is to be white. It is a socio-political rank that is bestowed to ethnic groups, an honor the Irish, aka white niggers, didn't enjoy until our diaspora lynched some black people during the New York draft riots, after which our economic standing miraculously changed. I know that today when we say white, we are strictly talking about the European stock. That's what we say, and that's our genuine position, but behind that, we still live with the ghost of the past. The last time Europeans were ever one big happy family like the white nationalists want us to be was prior to the Roman Empire. Before that point we had, for the lack of a better term, a Celtic empire. It's said that you could leave your home in West Ireland or France, travel to Russia, and find hospitality. You may not speak the same language or have the same gods as these people, but you would have enough in common with them that language isn't vital and your gods are roughly the same people. You won't read about this high culture in the Roman or Catholic Church records. They didn't give a fuck about other people, just whether they were under Rome's influence or not. Life goes on and things change. But what has been presented to us as European culture is only a fraction of the story, and now we have a movement on the rise that is happy to settle with that tiny fragment of history and promote it as if it's the whole damn story. That tiny fragment brought the most ideology-driven bloodshed Europe has ever seen, as well as a Roman worldview that is, let's be honest, multicultural, with a state religion to boot. The Roman Empire had no real concept or care for race. They were what you might call civic nationalists. Their aim was to bring Roman culture to the world and bring world culture and people back to Rome. It's only fitting then that they would invent a state religion, a Judaism for non-Jews. This religion, which incorporates European paganism in the form of sainthood, is really just a way for non-Jews to worship the Jewish sand god, as non-Jews could never become Jews. It's also the first ever multicultural religion. Like Roman culture, Christianity is for all peoples. It's not tied to an ethnic group. And if it was tied to an ethnic group, it would be Arabic. As we have recently discovered, the man who became Jesus was really a king in what's now northern Syria. This multicultural, egalitarian philosophy was adopted and replicated by the British Empire and others, which developed both theological and secular philosophies to that effect, spreading those ideas to the four corners of the earth. And we wonder why we're in the situation we're in today? So, no, I'm not white. No, thank you. I'm Irish.